Okay, here we go. Now, because nobody, myself included, likes to let facts get in the way of a good theory, I have decided to definitively record the current, and it is, October 29th, 2007. Sorry, 2017. I'm apparently living in the past. Startup procedure for the Glowforge. So as of this moment, on my machine anyway, which is a production unit so far as I know, this is what happens when you turn it on. Now I'm going to kill the lights in here, but as you can see, the head is currently parked in the upper left corner. It is exactly where the machine put it when it finished its last job. I have not touched it, I have not moved it. So hopefully the lighting on this camera will work correctly. I'm going to turn all the lights off in the room so we can get the illumination from the machine itself, and we'll see what happens when I switch it on. Power on now. Okay, first thing, the lights come on. So it will sit here for a little bit. I'm going to narrate what happens. I'm hoping you can actually see when the camera takes a picture. So it uses the LED lights on the camera sometimes to illuminate the bed. So now we have a little ticking noise. I can't tell. Oh, there's the blue light flashes once. Never did figure out what that ticking noise is. Maybe tonight we will figure it out. Okay. And there we go. A diagonal move from the upper left to a couple inches, several inches, 6 inches to the left of the camera, the lid camera. And now the light comes on, flashes while it slides over to the right to nearly under the lid camera, but it overshot it slightly, I think. And then jogs to the left with a quick flash of the light. Now the light comes on while it moves all the way to the left, and you can see a couple of pictures being taken, or at least, sorry, See, I find it interesting when the bed is illuminated like that. So we had a move to the left, and then it jogged forward toward the bottom, and then it jogged up again. Then it went up to the upper left, and then I guess that last couple of flashes there was probably the bed photo for the purpose of positioning in the app. So quite a complex little series of things happened there. No failures, though. So let's see if this is repeatable. I'll turn it off. Turn it back on. I'm going to try to pay attention for that ticking noise. People have said they think that's the motor, that it's moving, but I think I always thought that was part of the cooling system. Pump. So that, when the light flashed there, that was accompanied by a slight move to the left, a very, very tiny move to the left. But it did move to the left, and there was a sort of a zzz noise or a hissing noise of some sort. And here we go again. It hit approximately the same place it did last time, or maybe exactly the same place it did last time. I always thought that first move put it further under the camera, but I may just have been misremembering. That's why I'm doing the video. So the second move here looks to be exactly the same as last time. It's just to the right of the camera, or the Glowforge logo itself is just to the right of the camera. Now it moved left a bit, more or less under the camera. I'm not looking to see if there's lights flash. Then we move left, and if it was like last time, we'll get a couple of flashes of the infrared illumination, which I realize now. I've been looking at the actual Glowforge itself, and since that is I guess an infrared LEDs on there, I can't actually see those. I only see them on the video, so I haven't been paying attention to whether those actually flashed any earlier. I guess you'll see them in the video, and I'll see them later when I play the video back. But in any event, you can see that that was basically the same sequence. The only thing I didn't notice last time, and I presume it was the same, when you turn it on, it sits there for a while, then it makes that tick, 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 tick noise. No motion that I could tell when it was making that noise, but then as soon as it's done with that, there was a little bit of a tiny little, like, couple millimeters maybe to the left, and then there was some sort of brief noise from inside the machine, almost like a pump whirring, or sort of more of a hissing noise than anything else, which was interesting. That may have just been going from the stepper motors unpowered to engaging them. I don't know. And then I'm not sure about the infrared LEDs. Anyway, let me open the lid and close the lid again just to see. Yeah, so that's the you can tell when it's taking those pictures, which is good to know. Let's try something a little bit different now. Put this on. Turn the machine off. Because it seems to me that the initial motion is based on, I think it has to see where that is before it decides where to move the first time. Because if I move this, as they tell you to do, you know, when something is failing, they tell you to put this under the camera. Right now, it doesn't just blindly move. You know, if it can't see, there have been people suggesting that it can't see up there. Now, if it can't see up there, how does it know to do that? Right? Because you'll see when I turn it on this time, it's not going to do that. It's going to realize that the head is already near the camera, and it'll move relative to that. So let's, all things being equal, turn the light off again. Switch this on. Isn't this exciting? This has got to be one of the most exciting videos ever put on the internet. And it's really a joy for me to be making it here at 10 o'clock at night. But I think it needs to be done. There's the ticking. And then that little... Oh. I didn't hear the other noise, though. See? So whatever the deal is there, somehow it's able to determine that initial move to get it more or less under the camera. Now, maybe it was so perfectly under the camera that time that it only needed a very basic move. These all seem to be the same. So what we've seen here is that all three times, at least near the end of the sequence, it went left, and then I think did it go up a little bit, and then down a little bit, and then up to the corner. But the first two times, it went down here, then it went over here, then it went back a little. This time, I think, since it was close to the camera already, there was only one move to get under the camera, and then to the left. Well, you'll have to run that back because my memory is pretty poor. But on YouTube, we have the ability to rewind. Excuse me. Now, here's what I'm very curious about. Let's try something completely different. Let me go down too far and over to the right too far. Because if my theory is correct, in fact, I'll go even a little bit further. If my theory is correct, there is some sort of initial wide-angle capture of the bed that allows it to figure out that first motion. and it should be equally capable of going that way as it is going that way. I'm going to go stand over here. So when those motors kick on, I'm going to see if I hear that noise. Not really. Moment of truth. Sorry, I'm going to shift the camera. Is it going to be baffled? Yep. See? So it is definitely able to determine with some accuracy. Let's see what happens now. It should jog to the left slightly, since it's not under the camera. There we go. And then it should go all the way to the left. And then I think up. Or is it down? Down and then up? I know there's two moves here, I just can't remember the order. Yep, down then back up, and then to the corner. So you see what I'm saying here? I think that the first thing it does is it looks at the whole bed. I think it can see that corner. Not very well, but I think it can see that corner, and that's why it knows to do that the first time. And I don't think it has anything to do with this being too far to the left, or people nudging it. I think what happens is it gets confused, and there's a shadow or reflection or just a problem with the algorithm, and sometimes it thinks that this is over here somewhat, and so it tries to drive to the left. Well, we'd have to actually think it's over here. Let's see what happens, actually. Can we do this? This should be very telling. So, you know, if your theory is that this camera here can't see the top, because you don't see the top in the UI, that's way too high. They cropped that out completely. So if it can't see that far up, then it has no idea where this is. And it's going to go to the right or something. My hand on the power switch just in case. I think it can see up there. Yep, see that? So apparently, what happens is it does a Y move here to where the camera is. Oh, interesting. That's a very interesting second maneuver. Very interesting. Yeah, so that's different than from the other side. From the other side, it always went down far enough that it only had to move horizontally. This time it actually did two vertical moves. So I think there's some sort of, like, again, the fisheye distortion is going to mean it looks at where it is, it guesses how far it has to go, it does an initial move, then it takes another look and does a correction, and probably repeats that until it can say, okay, this is definitively in a known position under the camera. And then now I don't know what this is all about, because clearly there's some bed images being taken. And then it moves down, and then takes another one, and then moves back, and then moves to the corner. That might have to be, I don't know, is that just calibration of, I think that's something else, right? I think it's already homed at this point. That might be more for camera calibration or bed height calibration or something. Because it's using those illuminator lights that it doesn't use. I notice it doesn't use those when it's doing the head finding I guess because it doesn't have to. Fascinating. So I'm trying to think if there are any other tests that are worth doing at this point. So, I mean, it's possible. Clearly, though, what I've demonstrated here is that there is some mechanism. I shouldn't be too specific. I shouldn't say, just come out and say, this camera can see up there. But there is definitely, the machine is aware of the horizontal position of the head when it's first turned on. Now, it's possible that there's some sensor in here and that actually gets the exposition from something other than the camera. That's possible, but I think it's the camera. I think this super wide angle camera can make out enough to say the head is over there or it's over there, and then that's why it does that first sort of guess as to the initial motion. Now, once that motion is launched, it's not doing it live. It's not, you know, this is done, I believe, through the cloud. So it's a picture, goes up to the cloud says, okay, move this much in this direction, and then that's why if it gets that wrong and it thinks it has to move to the left and it's already on the left, it's just going to grind against the left side, which is definitely something we've seen from time to time. Now, other people have said that once that happens, that you're screwed, and they hit the power switch. Now, if I'm standing here and I hear that noise, I'm going to dive for the power switch. But what has happened to me on a couple of occasions is I turn the power on. You can see it takes a little while. So I walk over to my computer, which is a few feet away, and by the time I catch that it's doing that, and I turn back around and I come over here, it's too late, because that's a relatively quick move just to go down here. So my experience has been that when it grinds against the left side like that, it will actually continue. So it'll work fine, in other words. It moves down, and then it moves to the right. Because I think after it does that initial move, it then takes another look, and it sees the head over there, and it doesn't care about the fact that it was banging against the left side, right? It's just like, okay, now I need to do a correction. Oh, it's over there now, so I need to bring it to the middle. So I think I'm going to continue to go with my theory here, which is that the reason this happens sometimes is possibly due to stray light, reflection off the glass, I don't know, something on the bed that maybe looks like, you know, maybe it can't see the logo very well. So, you know, anything that sort of looks like vaguely like the Glowforge head over here, because it does some image processing. Again, my theory, I don't know this for sure. And it thinks it's over on the right, so that's why it tries to drive to the left. Now I'm going to try one thing, because someone did suggest that if you push that over, that will trigger this problem. I hate to do this to my machine, but it's done this to itself. So just want to see what happens. And I will hit the power when it fails. Should start ticking. There's the ticking. Okay, stepper's engaged. Nope, see? Just fine. So yeah, that whole thing about moving a ½ inch to the left on startup or something, that doesn't seem to be the case. It does sort of jig a little tiny bit, but I think that actually might just be powering up the you know, when you power up stepper motors to hold the thing in place, it's going to go, you know, it's going to sort of snap to position. So I think that's what's happening. And that was kind of an interesting one here because, again, it actually went up slightly. So that initial move is, you know, as a guess. There's a lot of distortion. It's not going to get it right. I think it's an iterative process. So I think what's happening here is a loop that just says, move, you know, more or less under the camera, take another look, get as close as you can, take another look, and it'll do that X number of times or fail. And then I think that the optics and everything is probably precise enough that, you know, this system does actually result in a very repeatable and precise position. Accurate is a different question, right? Because accurate to what? But I think it ends up with a very similar home zero, whatever you want to call it, based on this, you know, fiducial approach. So again, I'm just sort of stalling here for a moment because I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should do while I've got everything set up. I don't think so. I really think I think I have successfully. Well, actually, this might be an interesting. This might be an interesting game. Do I have a sticker? Can I cover up the logo? I think I do. Start. I'm going to be really devious now. What would happen, which this might actually answer both questions. So this is one of those things where it's like, they could just tell us, just come out and tell us how the thing works. But if they're not going to, it's like protecting a massive amount of intellectual property here by not explaining how the homing procedure works. Anyone could figure this out with a couple of simple tests like this. So the first question will be, if I cover up that sticker and I turn this thing on, is it looking for a black blob? Oh, sorry about shaking the camera. Is it looking just for a black blob, or is it looking for the Glowforge logo? We'll see. It might just fail right off the bat, or it might make a sort of default move, just going, hey, I can't seem to see anything. Let me just see what happens if I try to move it toward the center. What's going to happen? Anybody's guess? Place your bets. Oh, look at that. Intriguing. Very intriguing. I don't know what that means. Maybe it can see through the paper. Do I have to question a lot of assumptions here? No, it's failing now. It went way too far left. But I was worried for a minute that the Glowforge logo is not in fact a fiduciary mark, or whatever you call it. I may have been using the wrong word, but it's sort of moving left and right here, and it's kind of neat. See it. It's so that answers a question I had earlier, actually, which is how many loops will it do? I thought maybe, you know, if maybe it's a fixed number of steps, like 2 or 3 steps, but I think it's done more steps, and it hasn't given up yet. I think it's about to give up, but it's interesting how it's, you know, it clearly has enough to know that it has to go to the right, it has to go to the left, it has to go to the right, it has to go to the left, but it's failing to actually find the Glowforge logo, which is perfectly sensible. Okay, so I'm going to put it out of its misery. Turn the power off. So what did we learn? We learned that if it can't see the Glowforge logo, it still does that initial diagonal move correctly. So the next question is that there are two possibilities that suggest themselves to me. One possibility is that it can't and doesn't expect to see the logo from that far away because it's distorted and blurry. But what it can see is that there's an object there, right? It knows that there's something there, and there's nothing, so that's able to get that initial move. And then now it goes into a search for the logo, which fails. So that's one option. Is it doesn't care about seeing the logo, but it can see the fact that the head is over there. Option two is it couldn't see the logo or whatever, but its default move is, okay, I don't know where the thing is, but we usually park it in the upper left corner, so let's just assume it's in the upper left corner. If that were the case, then, well, you know what, let me, I want to put it there because that would be too visible. So let's actually go with, let's go over here where we did it before. And, okay. So in this case now, and if it can't see it at all, or it needs to see the logo, but it can't see the logo, and it's a default move, then it's going to do the same default move and crash this into the right side. So I've got my finger on the power switch. If, on the other hand, it's just looking for a blob and it can see the blob over there, then it will actually move down and to the left correctly. And then I suppose option three is if there's some other position sensor built into that arm there, then all of this is somewhat for naught. I did not expect this video to be that long. I thought I would just record the startup process. Okay, place your bets. Next thing that happens will be the answer to my question. Cloud service is going, what am I looking at? And there we go. Okay. I mean, I think that pretty much says it all. Either there is some sort of position sensing built into the rails or mechanism, or it is using that camera to determine the initial position of the head and then making an approximate move based on that. I think the former. I think it's using the camera. Pretty astounding, really, when you consider how little clearance there is between that camera and the top of the head, that it's able to see. It's able to make anything out, but it is some kind of crazy wide-angle thing going on. So I want to take that tape off of there before it sets. No, tape does that. So pretty cool. That's that crazy optical homing thing. I just don't. Yeah. I'm going to say it's way too unlikely that I think it's too unlikely that they've got some sort of encoder in there that knows the position. I think it's doing it all with the camera, and I think the problem is either glare or an object on the bed that looks too much like that to the vision algorithm, or just a glitch in the vision algorithm that causes it to drive in the wrong direction. I've said that about 18 times, so I'm going to stop recording this now. Hopefully, though, for those who really, really care about all these details, we now have video evidence of a bunch of different startups with the head in different positions and different things going on. Man, I just thought of one more test. I'm not going to do it. I'll leave this to somebody else to do it. Is to put tape over the camera. If you put tape over the camera, presumably it can't see anything. So if it still moves in the correct direction on that first move, then it's getting that position from somewhere else, not the camera. But for one thing, I don't want to get any glue on the lens, and secondly, I'm done. This is it. As far as I'm concerned, I have all the information I want, but I'm sure there will be people who watch this and find a way to argue about it anyway. Good night and good luck, and so on.